Well, generally, the Department of Labour is concerned with maintaining a peaceful industrial climate. And we do that through many different social dialogue. We have conciliation services, and we also have an employment unit that seeks to find jobs for other people. So generally, on a daily basis, we'd have people call to lodge a complaint, and we deal with individual complaints mainly, because the other complaints, like a business, for example, who has a trade union, would go through the trade union and it would be dealt with on a collective basis. But many of our complaints are dealt with individuals who do not belong to a union. So they come, unfair dismissal, wages owing, vacation not paid, those general things we deal with on a daily basis. And social dialogue is engaging the partners, the social partners, employers, trade unions, and government in speaking about issues that affect workers on a general basis. People are dismissed for varying reasons. Sometimes, of course, the employer. At the Department of Labour, I often say that we are between a rock and a hard place, because we have to maintain impartiality, be very careful, and very often when the worker doesn't get what they expect, they think that we have been influenced by the employer. On the other hand, when we speak to the employer, they think that we are on the side of the employee, because every time something happens, we call them. So it's kind of very challenging for us. But we maintain good relations. You have to be very tactful in maintaining these relationships. We have very good relationship with the trade unions, because when we come to talking about the ILO, you would realize the ILO is a tripartite in nature, and it requires that we speak to the trade unions and employers on a continuous basis. So we have a very good relationship with them that has been cultivated over years of interaction. And the importance of being in a trade union is the advantage of many people coming together to fight for a particular thing, which would be done easier than if each individual would have stood up for them, him or herself. So it is important in that sense that you belong to a trade union, because some of the things that the labor laws do not cover, you can have if you are in a trade union. The trade union would bargain, what we call bargain, for those things, and you would get things that are above the law then, that are more than the law requires. So it's very important. Well, the ILO, the International Labour Organization, is a special body of the United Nations. And it has to do with workers' rights, really. They are mainly concerned about. But as I said before, they work with tripartite constituents. So everything they do must involve government, trade unions, and employers. Or what they don't generally say trade unions, they would say workers' organizations and employers' organizations. So those three, government, workers, and employers, are generally those who are involved in anything to do with the ILO. So they are an international body. They have, I think, about 190 something countries who are members of the ILO. And they operate mainly by standards, labor standards that they introduce at the International Labour Conference that is held in Geneva on a yearly basis. Well, standards like the right to employment, maternity leave, vacation leave, night work. These are some of the things that they're concerned about. Child labor, broad, very broad areas they are concerned about. The ILO's decent work agenda, I think, came out of their desire to see what they call fair globalization, because we realize that the issues of globalization, I mean, capital moving from one place to the other, affect workers, and they wanted to establish a level playing field, or put standards for a level playing field. So the decent work agenda really came out of their wanting to see fair globalization. And what the decent work agenda is just that they want to see decent work for all that is, let me say, in accordance with their labor standards, the ILO's labor standards. So they have, for example, occupational safety and health is a theme that is very important to the ILO, and it says that all workers must be employed in places that they are comfortable, they are safe, so that this is one of the things that employers tend to neglect when there is an economic crisis. So they still want to make profit. So the safety of the worker tends to be overlooked. So the ILO is really, I think, I'm not sure if I should say passionate, but they are very big on occupational safety and health. One of the mandates of the Labor Department is to do labor inspection. And when we say labor inspection, we are mandated to go into any business at any time to do inspection. So we check, we see if they have proper toilet facilities and so on and so forth. However, one of the drawbacks of that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is that I think we have concentrated on this social aspect of the inspection, meaning the conditions at work, like are they being paid minimum wage, are they being given the right vacation, are they being allowed the requisite rest periods. And we have not really I wouldn't say that we have not emphasized, but when we come to the decent work agenda, you'd see that one of the drawbacks we have is that we do not have a current or a modern occupational safety and health legislation. But we do inspect, and if we find anything that is not safe for the workers, we would bring it to the attention of the employer. Okay, the decent work agenda, as outlined by the ILO, is really an OECS, or the OECS countries have been included in and some of the priorities of the decent work agenda are: one, reviewing and upgrading of labor legislation, and you realize I just spoke about that. So one of the things that the ILO have been helping us to do is to review and modernize our labor legislation. So there is a CARICOM model law on occupational safety and health. There are some countries who have already implemented their occupational safety and health legislation. Countries like Trinidad and Tobago, who of course have more resources than the OECS countries. So we have been trying in the OECS countries to have those legislation modernized. We have done some work on that in St. Vincent. We have had consultations with the stakeholders, people like NIS, who they are into the occupational safety injury, because if you're injured on the job, really the monies are paid by NIS. So they are our partners. So we have had consultations with them, the unions, the employers, and we have looked at the CARICOM model and made some changes that would make it more unique to our situation. It is currently at the Attorney General's office, and we're supposed to move from there later this year. One of the an item on the agenda also has to do with HIV and AIDS, and it talks about inclusive work policies. And the ILO has also given us technical assistance so that we can implement a national workplace policy on HIV and AIDS. As a matter of fact, just yesterday afternoon, I had a meeting with our PS in the ministry, the Director of the National AIDS Secretariat, Dr. Hamilton, and the Health Planner in the Ministry of Health to collaborate to start to try to implement or to draft the national workplace policy on HIV and AIDS. So the ILO also has a handbook that they have put out for guidelines. And interestingly, in 2010, I think the ILO had a recommendation, an instrument recall that was passed at the International Labour Conference in June, that speaks about HIV and AIDS. Very inclusive labor standard. So we are trying as well to bring that into perspective here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we are moving with the national workplace policy. I don't think so. I don't think that we have detected in St. Vincent and the Grenadines where, you see, because women have some peculiar situation as well in terms of pregnancy, and in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a lot of the children are being brought up by, you know, women. Even if there's a father, the woman tend to play the major role. So those are issues that might be particular, and then some employers might you know, get upset that a woman is missing work so often. But really, in terms of treating men and women differently, no, because we have equal pay regulation that says that man and woman must be paid the same for whatever work is done. And the Protection of Employment Act makes provision for reasonable absence from work for family emergencies. So if a child is sick, an employer cannot fire you if you don't turn up to work. I mean, providing that you give them the requisite notice, then they can't really fire you for things like that. So I wouldn't say that we have a gender inequality in the workplace, from what I'm aware of. I think if you're talking about the structure of the labor market, I think it has changed, you know, over recent years, because I think it is a societal thing, but we are seeing more women who are going into university, and more women are coming back and are, you know, taking jobs that were traditionally male dominated. Like you spoke of the IT area, even doctors, we're seeing a lot of women in there. And even down to the lower levels, at security guards, we generally used to see men only as security guards, but now there are a lot of women who are taking up the security guard jobs. So there has been a shift in the labor market there. People want to think that men, we're not being chauvinistic if we say men are stronger, but generally by the makeup, men are, you know, probably more able to protect themselves better than a woman would be if somebody comes and want to break in or something like that. So there are concerns, but you know that because of the way, well, we are saying these days that men, we can't find the men, you know, where are they? So we, I guess they have no choice but to employ the women.
Okay.
Yeah.